Lots to review on the Goggler podcast this week. Bahir and Uma with you. But before we get into Hamnet and the Bluff and the Bride, we need to talk about that new Lanterns trailer. Bahir,
Yes.
you are the one Green Lantern fan in Malaysia.
I'm curious with what they're gonna do with it. Obviously, it's just a trailer. It's not even a trailer. It's a 2-minute teaser.
And when you say teaser, it literally is teaser language. Like, this teaser tells us nothing. It shows us a bunch of scenes, and all the dialogue you hear is cryptic stuff like, this town ain't what it used to be. This is my town. You better get out of here. And like random shit like that.
Yep. I think she hates your guts. Yes, but it's how she hates my guts. I'm like, whoa, wait, what?
It's just a series of one-liners and images,
Yeah.
and it tells us very little about the show.
Very little. Yes.
But for those who don't know, you are a lifelong Green Lantern fan. Probably your favorite DC superhero, if not superhero of all time?
Yes.
Do you have a specific lantern, or do you just like Green Lantern, period?
My lantern is Hal Jordan. And the reason I say that is because I came to it via the comics. I think
Sure.
if you came to it via any of the animated shows, then you know your lantern would probably be Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
If you came to the comics, maybe late 90s, your lantern will probably be somebody like Kyle Rayner.
But nobody likes Guy Gardner. Everyone hates Guy Gardner.
Everybody hates Guy Gardner. Yeah.
Yeah. So my encounters with the Green Lantern, I've read some comics. I read a lot of the classic ones. And so I kind of came into it at that period, but I never really kept up. There were limited runs that I would get into, like Darkest Night or the Far Sector series.
Yep.
But my main connection with Green Lantern will be through Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, which were amazing depictions of all of the characters and Green Lantern as well. And then, of course, there is the Ryan Reynolds movie, which is everything you're not supposed to do with Green Lantern.
I will disagree. I think the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern was Green Lantern of its time, right? It's Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern.
My problem with it was more Ryan Reynolds than Hal Jordan.
The idea was that DC would tailor the character to him so he could play the character for the next 10 years or whatever, right? Yeah, it wasn't a great film. It was okay. It wasn't terrible. If people go back and watch it, I don't know why you would, but if you wanted to, it's not terrible.
I really didn't like the suit.
Yeah, I thought the suit design was not great.
Also, the CGI-ness for the era was just too glowy and too annoying.
Again, it's that thing of its era.
Yeah.
I think if they tried to do that now, it would be better, but I didn't mind it because of some of the decisions they took. I appreciated. Like you said, the construct suit. I liked what they did with Sinestro. I liked what they did with showing him doing the training stuff back at OA. I didn't like what they did with Hector Hammond's character.
Yeah.
That was strange. At least it looked like the writers and the director and the actors read the comics. They read more than 3 issues of Green Lantern. I think that came through.
So fast forward to Lanterns, and James Gunn has been selling this show from the get-go as True Detective with Green Lanterns, right? He's not lied about what we're getting. Also because we have Kyle Chandler, who plays an older Hal Jordan, along with Aaron Pierre, who plays Jon Stewart, who is the rookie. And it makes sense having an older Hal Jordan because, according to Superman, superheroes have been around for a long time. So It's a normal thing within the DC universe. Not everything is going to be an origin story.
Yes.
If anything, Superman is the youngest of the new superheroes, right? Because he is only 2 years into being Superman or 3 years into being Superman when that movie begins.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so this teaser kind of shows us that and nothing more. Like, it shows us the True Detective bits and very little Green Lantern things.
Yeah.
So before you get into your analysis of it as a fan, let me just say what I like about what's happening as a whole with the DCU is that we're getting very different things. In that, all the MCU stuff is pretty much templated tonally. Like, sure, Guardians and Deadpool is a little more out there, a little funnier, etc., etc. But even the color palettes in the MCU are the same.
Yep.
And I think James Gunn's approach, which is, hey, comic books are all different based on different writers, different artists. Far Sector is very different from the regular run of Green Lantern, for example, which is very different from something Tom King might do, which is very different from something that Dave Gibbons might illustrate, etc., etc. And from what it looks like, Supergirl looks visually distinctive from Superman, which already looks very different from Lanterns. And I'm assuming Clayface is going to be a completely different thing in itself because it's a horror noir type thing. And so that's what excites me about Lanterns. But I'm not as invested in these characters as superheroes as much as you. So what did you think of this new trailer? Or teaser, sorry.
It's that thing I said early on in the year about giving creators and giving films and things grace. Because at the end of the day, even if this is a bad version of the Green Lanterns, it's not going to color my reading of the comic books, right? So it doesn't matter. In a lot of ways, I agree with you. I think I'm looking forward to the fact that this isn't going to be a big space woo bang bang chase down thing, which feels like what Supergirl is going to be, because that's what the basis of the stories are, right? The Supergirl comic book that the film is based on is about Supergirl going on this multi-galactic journey trip thing. I mean, to be honest, if you read their comics, depending on which comics you've been reading, sometimes every issue is like an episode or like a season of True Detective, right? They go somewhere, there's a mystery happening, they solve it, then they come back, or they go to the next planet.
Also, it should be important to note that for people who don't know, the Green Lanterns are space cops.
The Green Lanterns are space cops.
Lanterns is really leaning into the idea of the cops.
So because they're space cops, I think that probably could be one sort of negative outlook on this. Why are Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart doing cop things in a small town somewhere? I was looking back at some stuff. I remember seeing somewhere that James Gunn has said essentially that the TV shows will all be interconnected-ish. In some ways, could this be related to Peacemaker's salvation stuff?
Oh.
So don't think about Hal Jordan popping up with Superman and Supergirl. Think about Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan trying to figure out maybe what is happening with Salvation, the planet or the time dimension thing that we saw in Peacemaker.
So I think the opposite. I think Lanterns is taking place before Superman. Because in the teaser, Hal says, almost jokingly, I don't talk to the other Lanterns. I'm the only human.
Yeah.
One of them's a fucking squirrel, right?
Yes.
Which is funny. But what about Guy Gardner? And we know that Nathan Fillion is in the series at some point. And also that Jon Stewart started off as a substitute Green Lantern.
Yep.
And so maybe this series takes place before Superman and Guy Gardner joins as the next human Green Lantern, or even worse, just to piss you off, Hal dies at the end of this one and Guy Gardner takes over.
I think it's also important to note that the first 2 episodes of Lanterns is directed by James Hawes, who directs Slow Horses.
Yes, and he also directed... Didn't he direct that movie we saw with Rami Malek early last year, the spy one?
Oh, the spy one.
Because we spoke to him, right?
Put it this way, I think I would be very surprised if James Gunn decides to fuck over Green Lanterns by hiring all these people who are just too interesting to cover. You know what I mean? Like, it would be really weird for him to hire people to come up with the whole detective thing, True Detective, Slow Horses, bring in a crew of writers like Damon Lindelof, Tom King, and just be like, heh heh, it's going to be stupid.
Also, I feel like it's a waste to cast someone like Kyle Chandler
Yeah.
and kill him off after one series. Like, Hal is too important, too interesting a character to do that.
Again, all this is super speculative, right? To sort of follow on from what you said, Uma, I don't know if they will kill Harold Jordan at the end of Lanterns, more so that he will just retire, which he does in the comics. Hal Jordan
Right.
has retired from the Green Lantern, I think, twice.
Yes.
I mean, also, it's the kind of thing where, like, do you want to go down the Hal Jordan becoming Parallax thing? And then, the Spectre, because that's a big arc there. I don't think they will. I think it's unnecessary, but I agree with you. I don't see them killing off Hal Jordan. I see them retiring Hal Jordan.
Most important question, though. You've waited ages for this teaser, let alone the series.
Mhm.
At the end of these 2 minutes, are you excited for the series?
This looks like a great HBO TV show that I am already going to be excited for. If it
Right.
wasn't about Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart and the Green Lanterns and DC, come on, think about it, right? It's a HBO show written by Chris Mundy, Damon Lindelof, Tom King, supposedly True Detective Slow Horses vibes. It's got Aaron Pierre, Kyle Chandler, Kelly McDonald, and maybe Nathan Fillion on HBO. You go like, oh man, even without the Green Lantern stuff, I'd watch that.
Agreed.
I think the Green Lantern stuff makes it interesting. I'm not answering your question. Yes, I'm very excited for it. I am excited because for me, I'm hoping that this is the first official entries of Green Lantern into the DC universe. This isn't what's that guy's name from Arrow suddenly at the end of 300 episodes suddenly getting a fucking ring in the last 5 minutes, hoping
Right.
for a spin-off which does fuck all to anybody. This isn't fucking Zack Snyder hiding a random Tomare or is it Tomar2 in flashback sequences. When Darkseid attacks Earth, then he's got all these gods showing up during that montage sequence. There's one Green Lantern floating in the background. Or also they then cast the Green Lantern, shot sequences, but never released it until he does release them. You just go like, no. So I'm hoping this is the first official entry of Green Lantern into the DCU, right? Like, again, caveat, all this is a caveat. If that is what the power battery looks like in the Green Lantern, that's fine. I will take it. If that is what Hal Jordan's ring looks like in the Green Lantern universe, that's fine. I will take it. If it means that the Green Lanterns have to run around the corner and put on a leather suit to go do Green Lantern things, that's fine. I will take it. I'm just glad that the Green Lanterns are actually finally entering the DC cinematic universe.
Agreed. Me too. On paper, the show already sounds great. So I'm excited to watch that show to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. So from what we understand, the series premieres in August, so it's still a bit of a wait. But then again, we're already in March, so who the fuck knows how fast this year is going to go. Let's talk movies. First up, The Bluff, which is a brand new Prime Video original, directed by Frank E. Flowers, produced by Agbo, which are the Russos. And now it's all the Russos. It's the brothers and their sister as well. And this one stars Priyanka Chopra Jonas and Carl Urban. It is a pirate story. But not just a pirate story. It is a pirate story meets John Wick. And in this case, it's Jane Wick because Priyanka Chopra Jonas is the woman with a secret past that comes back to haunt her. Essentially, there are a bunch of pirates. They find themselves on this island because Carl Urban's character is looking for revenge and treasure, which Priyanka Chopra Jonas has apparently hidden away after escaping her life as a pirate. This isn't a spoiler because even though the movie treats it like this big twist, you kind of know what it is within the first 5 minutes of the show.
I don't know why they treat it like a twist because that's all the trailers say.
Exactly.
That's the only thing the trailer is selling, is the fact that Priyanka Chopra Jonas is this super weak, like pirate person guy.
Badass,
thing.
bloody Mary
Yeah.
pirate, right?
Just like, yeah, like this is not a secret, guys. This is why we're here.
I believe this is what you call typical streaming fare these days. Like, I can't think of a better label to slap on this movie in that it is average in every sense of the word. Carl Urban and Priyanka Chopra Jonas deserve so much better because they're both very good. However, I think they have contracts with Prime Video and Agbo, and so they're just forced to do this kind of stuff over and over again. And the problem is that it just reminds you of all of the better things you've seen. Like from the pirate angle, I'm watching it and I'm just reminded of how great those first 3 Pirates movies were, like how much fun they were. And this movie is not fun.
Yeah.
Even the John Wick stuff, yes, there's an interesting wonder in the beginning, but it's just not exceptional. And so what you end up with is John Wick Light or John Wick the fan film version. And I think that's the problem. Everything is kind of average. It's not a bad movie. It's totally watchable if you have nothing else to do. It's just, why? Why?
The movie is completely and utterly forgettable. It took us about 10 minutes to get going on this episode. I kept forgetting what the Bluff movie was. Because I have them in my notes, right? Oh, we're doing the Bluff today. The Bluff is, oh yes, that's right, that pirate movie with Priyanka Chopra. The Bluff is, oh yeah, that pirate movie with Carl Urban. Even to call it a pirate movie is doing pirate movies a disservice because they were on a boat maybe the first 5 minutes of the movie.
It's pure setting, right? That's it. It doesn't lean into any of the pirate stuff.
It's not even a setting because the movie opens, we see Carl Urban on a boat, or ship, pirate ship, grabbing someone from a different ship. Then they sail to an island where we then spend the entire film with Priyanka Chopra Jonas.
I'm okay with them being on an island, but if you're going to do that, then lean into all of the pirate mythology stuff. The code, the parlay, all of these things, right? They mention a couple of things in passing, but they don't do anything with it. And so you could actually just transpose the story or the script into anything, and it would still be middling.
I guess I was being a bit like pedantic with the pirate stuff, but the idea is, you're right. I want to see some story here. I don't just want to see Priyanka Chopra kick ass. Look, she kicks ass really, really well. I think it feels like she's obviously done a lot more sort of like stunt fight work post the other Agbo stuff that she's done. What is that other one that she did?
Citadel,
that other forgettable show. Yeah, so I think she did good stuff in Citadel. I think she was good in Citadel, but I think she looks more comfortable kicking ass now. And that's great. But I feel like she needs a better story. I wonder if it's just this thing of like Priyanka Chopra Jonas keeps doing these shows with Amazon because they keep offering it to her. Because if not, then she'd be love interest number 7. You know what I mean? At least this way she can be like Heads of State. She was pretty kick ass in that. You know.
For me, it just feels like a throwback to the old studio era, right? In that we've got the star attached to us. It's like Millie Bobby Brown and Netflix. If you listen to the Tom Rossman interview on The Town, he says something very interesting, right? He talks about how streaming doesn't make a movie star.
Yes.
And if you make one streaming movie, that's fine. But if you start making streaming movie over and over again, it could be detrimental to your brand if you want to be a movie star. Now, I think Priyanka Chopra has something outside of that. Like, she's going to be in the new SS Rajamouli movie that's coming out next year, I think. And I think that's going to be fucking huge. So she does have her foot in the Indian sphere as well. And she's also a producer on a lot of things. So I don't think she desires the kind of Glenn Powell movie star status. I feel bad for Carl Urban, who's doing great work in The Boys. And I'm pretty sure Mortal Kombat is going to break all kinds of box office records like the last one. Because that movie, for some reason, has a massive fan base and everyone wants to go see it.
Yeah.
And yet, this feels like the stuff that keeps pulling down his brand. Not because it's bad, but because it's middling. Because it's such a nothing burger. And I think that's what I felt most disappointed in. And what's worse, unlike the Netflix versions of these movies, but this didn't feel like it was made for second screen, in the sense that they weren't just repeating the same lines over and over again, reinforcing what the movie is about over and over again. I thought the dialogue kind of grew beyond that a little bit. And so Prime Video doesn't necessarily practice those same templated things.
I think Amazon Prime is not concerned with the Netflix rules, right? The Netflix rule of, we know our audience is going to be second screening this, so we're just gonna treat everybody like dummies and keep repeating the story. Whereas here, Amazon Prime doesn't do that. And that's fine. That's great. But they still need to make a better movie.
Agreed.
I appreciate that they're not treating us like dummies by constantly repeating. Like, I love Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, but 30 minutes into the movie, I know what the rip is. I don't need you to keep repeating to me what the rip is. It's okay. We know what the rip is. The rip is that money. Yeah. We know what the rip is. It's okay. Yeah, I think the Bluff needed to be better. I think it just needed to be better. I think there was a lot of story mistakes. I think they took a lot of story shortcuts. Obviously, there's a special hidden cove at the end with special secret stuff, which I felt was kind of lame because you've taken this action adventure from outside the island to now you're inside a set, and it felt that way. So it didn't feel expansive. It didn't feel cinematic. And I think they just made some really weird directorial decisions as well. There's one bit really, sort of sits in my craw when Priyanka Chopra puts on a bandana on her face only for her to then take it off 5 minutes later while she's trying to maybe spy on people who already know who she is. So I don't know why she did it in the first place. So they just did a bunch of random stuff like that I just really cannot get behind.
Yeah, everyone attacking is there because of her. They know exactly what she looks like, and they know who she is. And she knows who they are as well. It's not like it's a surprise to her. Maybe the big boss man showing up is a surprise, but when the mercenaries first show up at her house, she has a pretty good idea who is looking for the treasure.
Yes, and what this is all about.
Exactly. That said, I think she is the strongest bit in this movie, if only because she totally commits to what it is. And so, on that sense, I think she's doing a very good job. My problem with The Bluff is that it's sold to me as this nostalgic throwback to great pirate action adventures and ends up being something actually very, very small and enclosed.
Yes.
Because of its setting, there is no high seas adventure. It didn't feel as epic as Pirates of the Caribbean. And maybe it's not supposed to, but even John Wick feels epic. Because the quest he's on, it may just be in a few buildings, but it still felt epic. And I think this one doesn't do enough scale-wise.
Yeah.
And that's why I was let down.
I think that scale thing is important. I don't want to let streamers off the hook and say, oh, because it's made for TV.
You're not spending TV money. You're
That's what I'm
spending
saying.
big
Exactly.
movie money.
Yeah, you're spending cinematic money. So, you should be able to. Other than Priyanka Chopra Jonas, you got Carl Urban, you got Timura Morrison, and I think that is it. Your cast is not particularly expensive. So for you to just do your third act, the beginning of your third act sort of action sequence in caves underground, which just looks like set, and then have your big fight at the Bluff on top of a hill against dark black sky, just feels kind of bad. There is nothing cinematic about it. And I think that is the problem. I understand this is a streaming release, but you still have to put your back into it in terms of just the way you shoot the damn thing.
Next, we've got Hamnet. Yes, we are as surprised as you are that this is finally hitting Malaysian cinemas, especially since last year, all of the distributors told us that it wasn't coming to Malaysian cinemas. But GSC International is bringing it in as a big award season push. We're not sure how well it will do at the Oscars, but the only certainty at this year's Oscars is that Jessie Buckley is going to win for her portrayal in this movie. Everything else is up in the air. But if you look at Polymarket, Jesse Buckley has this in the bag.
Are we quoting Polymarket now?
I find Polymarket super interesting, and I think we need to talk about it on a podcast at some point, especially when it comes to the film stuff. I mean, you can bet on, sorry, not bet by here, you can predict anything.
Anything you want, man.
Anything you want. But
Anything
the
you
movie
want.
stuff is also quite interesting. But anyway, Jessie Buckley looks like she has it in the bag. So we finally seen Hamnet, or Bahir's finally seen Hamnet. I caught it last year at the Tokyo International Film Festival. And since the both of us have seen it, we thought it would be a good time to review it because you can too in cinemas starting this week. How very exciting. For those of you who don't know, it is based on a novel by Maggie O'Farrell. And the novel itself is the fictionalization of a true story surrounding William Shakespeare and his wife and the loss of a child. The child's name is Hamnet. And it is said that this loss was what inspired William Shakespeare to write Hamlet. Now, this movie isn't the origin story of Hamlet, but rather this meditation on grief and love and parenthood and marriage and all of these things. And it is a brilliant movie directed by Chloé Zhao, but it is a movie I never ever want to watch again. I really appreciated everything about it, the way it was shot, the dialogue, the performances, but it is so harrowing that I was miserable by the end of it. And let me say this, the ending is not miserable. The ending is remarkably hopeful and uplifting, but I was so spent, like I was physically fucking tired. And maybe great cinema should do that, right? Maybe great cinema should evoke a physical reaction in you.
A lot of movies get described as moving. Hamlet is actually moving. And again, like you said, it's not moving in the sense that there is big moments of grief or it doesn't make you just like bawl your eyes out at the end of it.
Also because it's not capital A acting, right? No one is
not
performing sadness for the camera.
Yeah.
And I think that's why the performances are so great. Like Jessie Buckley, it's so measured.
A lot of the scenes didn't feel like scenes. A lot of the scenes between Paul Mescal and Jessie Buckley felt like montage sequences in that the conversations didn't feel like conversations. They felt like conversations you would have with your longtime partner.
Yes.
They're just talking shit about nothing, right? They're not discussing the day's news or what they're doing tomorrow or how that writing is going, Hamlet. You know, it's not any of that. It's just like random bits of pieces. And that really drives home the almost everydayness of this movie, which makes the harrowing emotions feel more realistic, more grounded, they're more recognizable, I think.
So the movie kind of makes things a little more obvious. In the book, for example, Maggie O'Farrell makes a conscious effort to kind of hide who these people are, in that she doesn't name William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare's wife was Anne Hathaway, but she calls her Agnes. And she brings in this whole Witch of the Forest kind of element as well, right? The movie does away with a lot of that obscuring, and it kind of makes it very clear that this person is William Shakespeare, even from the writing that he's doing and the lines that he's saying. Like when he's writing Romeo and Juliet, he's quoting from Romeo and Juliet. So it becomes very obvious to you who it is.
I don't think it was that obvious.
Right.
I mean, only because like coming into it, I knew this was about William Shakespeare writing of Hamlet and all that stuff. But as I was watching the film, I realized that they only ever referred to William Shakespeare one time, right at the end, when Agnes and her brother are in London and some kid hanging out the window asks, "Who the hell are you guys?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm looking for William Shakespeare." At which point you go like, "Oh, okay, cool." Because I'll be honest, like up till that point, I wouldn't say I wasn't sure. I didn't know if they wanted to put a pin on it. I didn't know if they were going to completely ignore it throughout. At one point, I think they referred to him as Will, or he referred to himself as Will. I'm not a big Shakespeare guy. So when he was quoting lines, it just felt like, oh, this is what he's writing. Oh, this is what he's going to be writing tonight. Because we always said,
Right. Okay.
we see that he's a writer, right? So I don't think it's as obvious. I appreciate that it is probably more so than the book, but I didn't think it was that obvious. I liked the way they played it.
I mean, I don't think it was a problem. I just think it was an interesting shift. And I'm wondering whether it was to make it slightly more accessible to a cinema going audience.
Yeah, lah, is to make it more accessible for people who don't read Shakespeare like me, lah.
For Americans,
Americans who can't read.
period.
Yeah,
Who
yeah,
can't
period.
read, period.
I mean, look, I think it's the kind of thing where, like, in all your marketing material, you've said that this is about William Shakespeare writing Hamlet. You kind of then have to say, it's the anti-Chekhov's gun, right? You said this is who he is, so you kind of then in the film have to say his name.
Is it a true story? Kinda.
Mm.
There's very little that's been written about Hamnet. And that's what inspired Maggie O'Farrell to write this, because the idea of losing a child is such a traumatic, massive, consequential event in a marriage, in anyone's life, that she felt it would have this tremendous impact on Anne Hathaway and William Shakespeare. And so what you're watching is actually that. It is the impact of that death. And I will say, the way it plays out, I go back to that harrowingness of the way it plays out, is the objective of the movie. Like, that's what it wants to show you. And I think it does that incredibly well. I wasn't a fan of No Band Land. I thought it was a good movie. I didn't think it was the best thing ever, like a lot of people. And I, unlike you, wasn't a fan of Eternals either. And for me, I think this is Chloé Zhao's best. Like, this is really taking the source material, kind of digging deep and bringing it to life in the best possible way.
I mean, I agree with you. I think this is definitely her best work. And I think the indication for me of a good director is to be able to take the less obvious route. So, for example, if I was to tell you that this book, Hamnet, is about William Shakespeare and his wife losing their only son, your thoughts are immediately going to be big, screamy, shouty, cryy movie. This wasn't that. And I think that is what's important. I think this movie was very, not even quiet, but it was very controlled. I think their roles were swapped, I felt like William Shakespeare's sort of emotional reaction to it is generally what a lot of weaker writers would write the female character to be. That my son is dead, oh Lord, my son is dead. Whereas here, Jessie Buckley is very strong, very quiet, very reserved. She's like, I have to do this, we have to do this next. Where were you? Why weren't you here? Kind of situation. And even then, it wasn't this big blowout. That moment when we see Paul Mescal walk in and he first hugs Hamnet's twin sister. And he goes, you're okay, you're here. And then suddenly realizes, where is my son? The way that was shot was very reserved. The way it was acted, it was very reserved. I think I loved that. I loved that quiet storm that they were both facing inside themselves.
That was such an incredible sequence, because he comes back thinking his daughter is dead, because she was the sick one when he left.
Sick one when he left.
And that was just insane.
But even then, I love that sequence. I love that shot. But for me, it was the one before that, when Judith is in bed, she's struggling, and Hamnet walks up and sort of gets in bed and says, he's here. I know what I'll do. I'll trick him. He will take me and he will leave you. And I thought that shot of the two of them face to face in bed, that was beautiful. I think Chloé Zhao did so much with so little here. A lot of the cameras were locked off. A lot of the movements within the camera were very simple, were very basic. They weren't this big actorly showy thing.
That's the other thing that I really appreciated about the movie, in that it felt representative of the era. The way the production design worked, the way you felt everyone needed a shower because
Yes.
they all looked kind of dirty. And it would be the case, right? Because it's not like they had running water at the time.
Yeah.
And I thought that was all incredibly authentic. And it just added to the mood, to the feel, to the atmosphere of everything that was going on in Hamnet. It is by far the most atmospheric movie of 2025, I think.
I agree with you, but it's not trying to be atmospheric.
No, it's just representative.
Yeah, like off the top of my head, I can't think of. There's a film I'm sort of like seeing at the tip of the corner of my eye where they tried to be atmospheric. There are all these like shots of old English town and muddy water steps and like fog over. They're really trying to set the capital A atmosphere mood, right? Whereas this movie didn't. I think this movie just lets you live in the moment.
Yes.
Even I don't know why, every time I think of this scene, I laugh. When Agnes and her brother go to see William's parents,
Yes.
when they first find out that she's pregnant, it's an almost fisheye, sort of slightly awkward angle looking down, and Paul Mescal walks in and he's getting berated by his mother, and Jesse Buckley's in the corner smiling and grinning away. I don't know, there's something so simple and so beautiful about that. The indoor sequences during the day are dark as hell because they had no indoor light. They wouldn't have wasted their candles at the time anyway, so corners of rooms are dark. I think beautiful. I won't watch it again, but absolutely, if you haven't seen it, you should watch it because it's
100%.
a very, very good movie. But I'm not watching it again.
I can't watch it again. My wife wants to watch it. I think she will be a blubbering mess by the end of it, but I told her to take her sister because I'm not watching it again.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe she could take my wife because I'm not watching it again.
And that's something strange to say given that I really do love this movie. But
I love
don't
this
want to
movie
watch it
so much.
again.
I don't want to watch it again. Yeah. I do not want to see this thing again. Yeah. Okay, maybe in a couple years, I might,
Maybe
I
in a
might
few
be
years.
I'll be like, oh, you know what? Really liked Hamlet. I'll put that on again.
Maybe in a few years, if only because it is so beautifully crafted. I want to appreciate all of that other stuff that Chloé Zhao has done.
The shot of Jessie Buckley curled up in like a fetal position in the
Yes.
middle of the forest in her red dress. Beautiful.
Just amazing, right?
Yeah, just amazing.
And as a contrast, that's how you do it, Emerald Fennel.
Yes.
When you're talking about epic, landmark, painterly shots, that's how long you linger. That's how you frame it.
Yeah. It's not a music video.
Speaking of Jessie Buckley, though, she is in another movie that opens this week. This one is called The Bride. It is Maggie Gyllenhaal's take on The Bride of Frankenstein. And let me tell you, once again, if this movie proves anything, it's that Jessie Buckley is a once-in-a-generation talent. Because if you watch her in a double bill with Hamnet and The Bride, that, my friends, is what you call fucking range. It is a completely different role, and her performance in this movie is absolutely fantastic. It also stars Christian Bale, Peter Sarsgaard, Annette Bening, Jake Gyllenhaal, Penelope Cruz, tremendous cast, but a modern-day retelling of The Bride of Frankenstein. Modern day compared to when Frankenstein was set. So, in this one, it is Chicago, it is the 1930s, it's about the bride and Frankenstein and the mafia and this idea of reanimation and loneliness and feminism. And there are about 50 different things happening in this movie. And most of it's very good. But, and there is a big hairy but, I just wish Maggie Gyllenhaal streamlined some of this stuff. It's like meta commentary on Mary Shelley. and how she couldn't achieve all the things she wanted to achieve because she died at a very young age, but she was the founder of modern science fiction horror with Frankenstein, and like, there is so much happening in this freaking movie. It's a murder mystery and a crime story. Like, there's a lot. And you know what? Let me just say this for the most part, all of the threads come together very well. I just felt it lacked the tightness that could have made it a truly fucking great movie.
And my one comment would be like, oh, maybe she should remove one thing. And not because that one thing is bad, but it's just so that she could spend a bit more time on the 4 other things that she's trying to tell here. And they're all great things. They're all really well executed. They're all really well tied up. It's just, I never really got to sink my teeth into any one of those bits. The movie is a hell of a fucking ride. It's high octane. It's non-stop from beginning to end. Like, the movie doesn't ramp up. It opens with this sort of like meta commentary, Mary Shelley sort of telling you, the audience, about what is going to happen, but also then taking over the body of the person that you're watching on screen. So it's this whole thing, and it's intercut between black and white and color. There's music.
The ghost of Mary Shelley possesses
Yes.
Jessie Buckley's Ida.
Yes.
Within the first opening minutes of the film.
Yes.
And then Ida is killed. And then the movie begins.
And at never any point did I feel confused. Did I feel rattled or shaken? Like, I think Maggie Gyllenhaal really held my hand throughout all of it. I just felt like she could have done one thing less. I feel like I would have been more satisfied with the other things that are happening on screen.
Funnily enough, this movie feels like what Joker Folie à Deux was trying to be.
Yes.
Same cinematographer, by the way.
Oh, snap.
So visually, there are very interesting parallels between the two films, artistically as well. But that look aside, The Bride is a much stronger version of that story, where Todd Phillips completely dropped the fucking ball on Joker, which ended up being this self-indulgent mess. Maybe that's what you get from a male filmmaker versus a female filmmaker. Because for all of the things that Maggie Gyllenhaal is trying to do in this movie, it isn't self-indulgent. It doesn't feel self-indulgent at all, because your focus is always on the characters and your focus is always on the bride.
The other thing I wanted to say as well was that this kind of feels like in that Maggie Gyllenhaal doing a air quotes retelling of a film or a book, it kind of feels like what Emerald Fennell wanted to do with Wuthering Heights but failed.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
Maggie
okay,
Gyllenhaal didn't fuck about. She isn't pretending like this is some read of Wuthering Heights that she had when it was completely within her own imagination and not actually in the novel at all. Like, she wasn't doing any of that. What Maggie Gyllenhaal was doing was pulling on the strands of the movie The Bride of Frankenstein, which was very interesting in that the bride, who is in the title of the film, of that film, doesn't say anything, doesn't have any agency. I think she has 2 lines in the movie or 2 words in the whole movie, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a long time since I've seen it. But has 0 agency and makes this a movie about female agency.
Yes.
About female agency in the face of the person who is supposedly loving you, gaslighting you throughout the whole movie, telling you that you're his bride and that you're in love. It is very, very clever and very, very cunning and very well pulled off.
But I think at the same time, Maggie Gyllenhaal treats the Frankenstein character with a lot of care, with a lot of love. Yes, he is gaslighting the bride into marrying him, but you kind of understand why. He isn't the villain here.
150 years of loneliness, right? Or something like that.
Maggie Gyllenhaal, she never makes you forget that Frankenstein is kind of partly the problem here. Well, not partly the problem. He is the fucking problem. But he is not the bad guy.
he's a very sympathetic version of the character. And Christian Bale does that very, very well.
Very well, yeah.
Because at the same time, he's bordering on monstrous. And I love the way he treads that line. It's really good. What's cool about that depiction, and I think what's cunning about that depiction, is how the character takes on the name Frankenstein.
Right.
Because obviously he's Frankenstein's monster, but the way Christian Bale approaches the character, he's not going to call himself monster or creature. He calls himself Frankenstein, but he says my father's name. And so right off the bat, you realized, one, he still has a certain amount of love for this individual who fucked him over. And two, that his name gets appropriated by all of the other characters in the movie in different ways. Frank, Frankie Baby, all of these cool ways, because naming an identity and all of that stuff was a big part of the original novel.
Yes.
Maggie Gyllenhaal has done some crazy cool stuff in interpretation and what she's done. Like this one, put some fucking inverted commas around this title, right? Give it the exclamation mark, put some inverted commas around it, because this is what an interpretation should be.
I love that the poster literally says, "Here comes the motherfucking bride."
Yes.
That is on the poster. It's not just bride exclamation mark. It's no, here comes the motherfucking bride.
There's a lot of things that I love about The Bride. And overall, I had a very good time in the cinema. But like you said, Bahir, I just felt that the plot needed some editing. And the reason I say that is because a lot of the characters who weren't the bride and Frankenstein felt shortchanged. So some of that stuff felt very rushed, and I didn't have enough of an emotional connection with Annette Bening or Peter Sarsgaard or Penelope Cruz. And all of them have very impactful parts to play, because at some point during their character's climax, they deliver those lines which are supposed to be important, but yet you haven't seen enough or learnt enough about them for it to have meaning. And I think that's where the movie falls short. It's in the side characters.
I know who I would have gotten rid of. I would have gotten rid of the gangland mob mafia stuff. I didn't think that was necessary.
I know why she put it in, because she put it in for the whole female empowerment angle that she was going for.
But I don't think it was necessary, because you could still do the female empowerment thing. Like, Ida could have maybe been a flapper girl, could have maybe been a prostitute, but all we needed her to do was to die. I didn't need the baggage of her death. I didn't need her to have known secrets about the mob mafia, who then that's this whole thing. I felt like that ruined it for me, because at the time women were treated badly anyway, so I didn't need the mafia to be the boogeyman. The women could take the streets with tattooed faces and just beat up on men because they were all jerks.
That was also a very cool makeup choice on the part of the movie in how to depict the bride. Like, it's very punk rock and very, very cool.
But I also like that there was an explanation for it.
But having the women tattoo it on their face afterwards,
yes, they then subsequently tattoo
punk
themselves,
rock.
Is very punk rock. Yeah.
And the movie did feel like that. The movie had a total punk rock vibe throughout. Hilda Gudinoter, I still can't pronounce her name, did the music. Music was fantastic. The pop tracking was also very, very good. Like, as a whole, this felt like such an accomplished work from Maggie Gyllenhaal. I was very impressed with all of that stuff. There was just a little bit that was holding it back from greatness.
In a year when we've had two former actresses turned directors who have made air quote versions of classic literary works, I think Maggie Gyllenhaal is much closer to greatness than Emerald Fennell.
Couldn't agree more.
I think Emerald Fennell has done more films, but her films have been, dare I say, borderline streamer style movies.
I think so.
Yeah, I dare say it. Yeah. Whereas Maggie Gyllenhaal films are cinematic. This feels cinematic. This doesn't feel like the kind of movie you wait to watch on Netflix. You go to the cinema to watch this, you have it sort of really just wash over you, the colors, the power. Like in my sleepless state, I've come up with something. How Chloé Zhao under directs her film, Maggie Gyllenhaal just shy of over directs her movies. She doesn't take it too far. We don't ever think that the director is in the way here, but there's a lot of really great montage sequences. There's a lot of really sort of, like you said, punk rock moments with the way the bride has galvanized the women of Chicago. Those fleeting cuts between black and white Mary Shelley and the bride / Ida in real time. None of it ever really felt too much.
Man, you know what else we forgot? There's also in this movie, like there's so much happening in this movie. There's also homage to classic cinema. There are song and dance sequences.
And I think the song and dance sequences for me is the real indication of where Joker, I'm not even going to pronounce the French name, Joker 2 fucks up.
And I think for me, it is also demonstrative of how good Maggie Gyllenhaal is as a director to bring all these elements together and not have it feel jarring or out of place. Like you go along with the ride. When they break out into those song and dance sequences or hallucinatory sequences, it feels totally normal. In Joker, it felt jarring.
It felt like a put on.
Exactly.
Yeah,
this does not feel like a put on. It just feels like you're along for the ride. And it's brilliant.
Yeah.
I had a really enjoyable time at the cinema because it felt experimental. It felt interesting. It was something new. It wasn't straight out of a template, whether for adaptations or even regular filmmaking, right? It just felt fresh.
Yep.
And for that, it's a really strong 7.5, even 8. And I think the reason it pushes into an 8 is because of Jessie Buckley and Christian Bale. They're both some of the best depictions of these characters that I've seen on screen. I genuinely preferred Christian Bale to Jacob Elordi. I know it's completely different. In my head, as Frankenstein, the sympathetic monster, I love how Christian Bale could go from loving to monstrous. I thought that was just amazing.
I also love how Christian Bale's Frankenstein understands why he's the monster. He's not like, why does everybody hate? Look, dude, you're made up of different pieces. People hate you. We get it, right? And even at one point where he's like, we have to go now. Pitchforks and fire sticks are going to come up for us now. I've done this before. We have to go, right? Yeah.
I mean, that's part of it, right? He's already been the monster for so many years versus Jacob Elordi. But I just thought his performance wasn't as theatrical. And it wasn't capital A.
Yeah, it wasn't, look at me, I'm Frankenstein.
And I think my only disappointment is I feel this could have been a 9 or a 10 because it was so unique and interesting. And it kind of dropped the ball where Sinners did not. Because if I were to describe Sinners to someone, I would say it's doing the same thing. It's doing 50 different things. It's a vampire movie. It's about blues and jazz and the history of Black America. And it's doing all of these things. But I think there's a certain amount of restraint that Ryan Coogler had in his storytelling that made that one great. And so that's my only disappointment. But otherwise, highly, highly recommend watching this on a big screen. You absolutely have to. It looks amazing on IMAX. There's a very cool method that Maggie Gyllenhaal employed in shooting this for IMAX. She wasn't using IMAX cameras. She was just using a variety of different lenses and aspect ratios to make it work. And it's very, very cool. And yeah, it's just so great watching her as a filmmaker now and not just an actress. It's just a very good movie.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's good. Go watch The Bride. It's now showing in Malaysian cinemas. Also catch Jessie Buckley in Hamnet. That is in selected GSC locations. Look at the app to find out where, because it's a GSC international release. And The Bluff is showing on Prime Video. Let us know what you think about all of these movies. Once you've seen them, you can reach out on Instagram. We're at GogglerMY. You can also email us on podcast@goggler.my or send us a WhatsApp on the Goggler hotline 012-524-5208. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Goggler Podcast.